Hello and welcome to another episode of Language Therapy with Dr. K, a podcast from the USC Institute of Armenian Studies. My guest today is Arman Nshanian, truly a Renaissance man by any definition. Opera singer, actor, director, producer, founder of a production company, and most recently, the creative force behind Echoes of Our Ancestors, a musical journey across Armenian history, across genres, bringing some of the biggest names in music to the Greek theater in September. Arman and I talk about the voice as central to his training as a singer, as an actor, as a director, the voice stretched, the voice translated, the voice across contexts, across geographies. We talk about his linguistic repertoire across languages, but also within Armenian, someone who has different personalities in Eastern Armenian, Western Armenian, the Iranian Armenian dialect, and how central his capacity in Armenian has been to his trajectory as a performer, as an artist. Join us for a very personal conversation about the role of language for one particular artist, across geographic locations, across temporalities, across artistic disciplines, and the immense power of storytelling. Arman Nshanian, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
So I always start with this question. Tell me the brief version of the story of your life through your languages. What languages were you born into? What languages did you pick up along the way? And you can even muse on the role of language in all of your endeavors.
So our household was always Armenian language. We moved to the United States when I was very, very young. So I was 2 years old. So when I don't remember when I picked up English, but I do remember it having to involve cartoons. And I don't know how or when exactly, but I do remember always speaking very well. And I remember the only good comment that I had received from any of my teachers in elementary school is that you're very well spoken. And that sort of stuck with me, and I didn't really believe her at the time. I was like, well, she's trying to get me to do my homework. But then I understood what she meant, because I have a very good way of being able to explain things out of the box. And my wife always says that just recently, even, she's like, you have an amazing way of doing that. You just take an analogy from out of the blue that has nothing to do with what you're trying to say, but I get it when you say it. And I think that comes to to the point of what we were talking about the other day, is that the language of art. Right. And I think that the way that my brain puts, because we think in pictures, and the way that my brain puts the pictures together, the order it does that's the way it's I'm able to quickly put that into a phrase or a sentence and then explain it. So it's sort of the creative thinking that is what's been given to me. A lot of other things haven't, believe me. So the one thing that has been given has been the creative thinking. But
Arman, you grew up in an Armenian-speaking household?
Yes.
So the language at home was Armenian,
yes.
The language at school was English?
Yes, and Armenian. I went to an Armenian school here in LA, Shamlian.
I didn't know that.
Yes, I did, until 7th grade, till they threw a party when I left. So, yeah.
In celebration
yes,
or in relief?
In both. I think it was a relief celebration. So that, yeah, it was always Armenian. In our home was Armenian spoken. So the cool thing is that my grandmother went to Egypt so basically she's Yekiptahai, right? So she's spoken Arev Madahairen.
Western.
Yes, Western Armenian. And my parents spoken Eastern Armenian. In the home, it was a very even 50-50 mix. Okay.
Because your grandmother lived with you guys.
Was always at our house. She did not live with us, but she was always there, making sure that we survived, right? As all grandmothers do.
Yes.
And in school, we could have two choices, right? It's either the Western or the Eastern. Back then, there was no...
And Shamalian was very unique because it was one of the few that offered that choice.
Yes, and it was very... we had more of the Persian Armenian,
Yes.
which is similar to the Eastern, but it's not quite the same. So I grew up speaking 3 different dialects of Armenian perfectly. So when I switch to Arif Madahairan, people will do it. They'll be like, "Wait, I thought he was Hayastansi. What is this? What's going on?" You cannot tell me apart because it's actually an energy that comes onto you. It's not just language. It's not just the way of putting the phrase. It's something. I start to stand differently, and my hand gestures change when I'm speaking Arif Madahairan.
Do you think can you say more about how your personality or your demeanor changes? Like, give me examples of Arman speaking Aref Elahairan, Arman speaking Aref Madahairan, and Barskahairan. How does your body change? How does your demeanor change?
So, երբ որ ես Հայաստանյան եմ խոսում, միանգամից մի հատ sense brutal բան ա գալի իմ վրա. Քարային, like there's a lot of rocks in Armenia, right? It's brutal. And it's a little bit of like aggression, but not aggressive towards the person I'm speaking to. It's like I can be aggressive if I need to, and I know what I'm saying. Don't, this kind of thing, which is very in cahoots with the mentality of the people, right? Right away put across that you cannot pull one over my eyes. I don't want to pull one over his, but we can't. I know that you know that I know. Right? Արեմդա հայրենը շատ դարբեր է, պետք է քիչ ավելի նայ ես անոնց մեջ եմ, ես ցեզ մեմ, անոնգով. It's more of like a sort of like a defensiveness almost comes about, but it's almost like it has this sort of like European sort of a softness to it. And the Barska հայրեն ես ինչ ասեմ, Barska հայրենը մի քիչ ուրիշ ձև են խոսում, բայց շատ համով են խոսում. So it's very it's in there like a very, and it all comes from a point of like, I want to say like we're in the know, but we know the same thing in different ways.
That may have been one of the most entertaining moments of my podcast's entire history, because the way your body changes.
Yeah, it changes.
And there's a lot of research on whether switching languages changes one's personality. And there's a lot of research to demonstrate that there are elements, perhaps not your core, but the way your body, but even within languages, you can code switch, right? Eastern, Western, and there's a switch. So I was reading your bio and thinking about this conversation, and I thought I knew about all of the layers of your artistic life and production, but I didn't. What really fascinated me, and what I want to start with, is your training as both an opera singer and an actor. And I was thinking, again, from kind of a language scholarship perspective, both of those forms of performance center the voice. And what kind of language training, what role has language training played in your operatic and acting craft? What role, how would you evaluate? And especially, I was thinking in terms of opera, and I checked my own assumption. I assumed most operas are written in German, Italian, and French, and Google validated it. So maybe you can too. Do you have training in those languages? How does it feel to perform in a language that's not native or that you don't have fluency? How do you connect with the material? How do you connect with the audience? So these are all the questions I went to bed with last night in preparation for this conversation. But I guess if you could just touch on the role of language in general and particular languages in your training as someone whose voice is so central to your craft.
Mm-hmm. Yes. It's very, very interesting to talk about this, because you, as your demeanor changes when you speak, so does the way you sing, right? And each language, like, composers have had this battle and this issue with libretto and the music, right? So it's very specifically chosen. Why, for example, Mozart is from Austria, but he composes a lot in Italian. And it is also has to do with because Italian was the go-to back then, and it was the cool thing. But you do definitely, everything changes when you start singing, because you cannot sing consonants. You have to sing vowels, right? So vowels are very much, and there's a good saying of canta come parla, which means speak as you sing as you speak, which is an old saying from Italy that used to teach bel canto, beautiful singing. So it's very difficult to, for example, German, which is a very different type of a language, right? It's very much in that same as Russian, I would say, and Armenian would be the three difficult languages to sing.
Why? Because of consonant clusters?
Because the consonant clusters and the way that your throat has to pronounce the consonants come in conflict with the consonant, with the vowel singing, because it's very much, the vowels, the structure of your throat needs to stay open and clean, and anytime you do any kind of anything to disrupt that clarity of openness, then you have to go back into the same way of bringing the openness back. So it's a lot of work, as opposed to Italian is very, very open and flowy, as opposed to, and Italian is very much spoken very forward, right? Canta come parla, it's very up here, whereas like Armenian has the chans and the and so does the German. So it's very different, and it's completely like a different type of, like, people were like, how do you sing love in German? Like, it's so, when I lived in Austria, it took me a long time to really understand the beauty of it. But there is a very a big beautiness to it, which comes also in the Wagner. Like, Wagner has its beautiful the beauty in that music, and the language goes perfectly with it.
But one interesting comment on our associations with how beautiful or not beautiful languages are, of course, those are completely based on perceptions of the speakers of those languages, right? No one language is inherently more beautiful. And of course, for all of us, our mother tongue is the most beautiful. But maybe going back to my first question. So you were born in Armenia. At age 2, you moved here. Armenian is spoken at home. English is spoken at school. You just mentioned living in Austria, and it seems like you have training or capacity in Italian. So where did your training take you linguistically? What other languages have you studied or picked up in development of your craft?
So because I studied Armenian, Western Armenian, I was not very literate in Eastern Armenian grammatically. So when I went to Armenia and I got into TV and theater and film in Armenia, now I'm getting my scripts daily, especially on TV shows. I'm getting them daily. And to sit down and read a whole bunch of scripts in Armenian, Eastern Armenian, was very difficult for me.
How old were you at this point, Arman?
I was very old. I was 20. I was 32 when I started.
Oh, so it's 30 years in the U.S.
30. Well, I was 20 when I moved to Austria. Lived in Austria, then moved to Armenia. But I had never needed to read a book in a novel in Armenian. I knew how to read Armenian. I knew it because they got good training at school. But it wasn't like I have to work.
It wasn't a tool that you depended on for work. And
you need to depend on very well, because now you're a professional actor. You're not like doing it here and there. It's like you have to, So it was very difficult, believe it or not. And I quite honestly learned or relearned Armenian when I moved to Armenia. Until then, I didn't know Armenian. I could speak Armenian just like I could potentially speak Italian if I lived, if I go to Italy now. And then it would get better as the years go. I'm not an Italian speaker. So that's when I got a hold of Armenian. Italian was just, I think that my wife and I always joke about we were Italians in our past life, because she and I both, without knowing, just wanted to always learn Italian. Always, it's been like this kind of thing. And then obviously I had to pick it up because I started to sing opera, and my voice at the time was very much more so for Italian operas. because I'm a lyric tenor. So it was very much, I didn't need the German yet. So I was very much into Italian. And I learned Italian by taking libretto, taking operas and translating them. So I would take Elisir d'Amore, for example, and I would underneath, I would look it up, like the words, and translate underneath so I knew exactly what I was speaking, and I started to pick it up. But no one told me that the old Italian, Italiano Vecchio, is different than the Italian spoken now. So it was incredibly difficult. But then I was like, oh, wait, the roots are the same. Okay, I get it. And it started to make sense.
So what came first, opera or acting?
So I always sang. I got through elementary school because I could sing. Okay.
What does that mean?
That means like, oh, he's from the artist family. He's an artist. It's all right.
Can you mention what family you're from? What line of artists do you come from?
My father and mother met in the theater in Sundukyan Theater, which is the mother theater of Armenia. They both went to the Theatrical Institute together. They went to the theater. They met there. They fell in love with there. My grandmother was a famous opera singer during the Soviet Union for Armenia. She sang many operas in many different parts of the world when it was very difficult to travel when it was the Soviet Union, but she still managed to do all of that. So, and my grandfather was actually a French teacher at the conservatory. So that's how they met. So he taught French for singers that needed to learn French and sing in French. And then further down, if you go, my great-grandfather, Arman Nshanian, was a theater actor, very famous in the 1800s. And my mother's family are Nelli and Lepleba, they're called in Egypt. Until today, they're like Armenia, they're like Cher in Egypt, super famous. Like if you go to any Arab nation and you say I'm Nelly's, like my mom and Nelly's mom are sisters, they don't believe you.
Wow.
Like, wait, are you, like they just look at you like, wait a minute. So
did you have a choice not to be an artist?
Yeah, I tried to do other things. I just couldn't do anything else. And then I was like, all right, well, I give up. And my mom was like, well, could you just please try acting school? I'll take you. All right, let's do that too. And then that one kind of stuck. It really stuck. Like I said, there was one teacher in third grade that told me that I'm very well spoken. There's another teacher at the Theatrical Institute that said, and I said, yeah, see, it didn't work out. And he's like, well, I'll tell you that this is the one thing you should be doing. And then that's when I was like, wait a minute, somebody actually thinks I can do something well? Okay. Then let's give it the benefit. Let's give him the benefit of the doubt and just try and pursue it. And it like struck me as like like a bug. You know, bug. They say the bug bites you, and then now you have this thing, and it just hasn't stopped ever since. It just sort of fits.
I was trying to imagine earlier when you mentioned going to Armenia and really relearning Armenian as you pursued professional acting in Eastern Armenian. What were the locals' perception? Here you are, Arman Nshanian, son of Jean Nshanian, Shakhet Tukhmanyan, look Armenian.
Yeah.
You fit all, like, did they see your language anxiety? Did they perceive or have any sense of the linguistic kind of turmoil that was going on?
God, 2003 was like the Wild West in Yerevan. Okay, I looked just like I look now. Long hair, beard, ripped jeans, and it had nothing to do with the Yerevan you see now. Everybody's got a beard. Everybody's got long hair. There's a barbershop on every corner.
The man bun.
Yeah.
Every bartender and barista has it.
Yeah, yep. 2003, none of it. So, yeah, and my language, my speaking skills were terrible. So right away, it was always, you feel like you stick out. You stick out anywhere, anytime. It was this whole sort of like going back to elementary school when you first walk in, all the kids are looking at you. That sort of feeling was continuously, because people didn't know who I was at the time. I was just a student in the Conservatory of Music, so I wasn't well known as an actor back then. So people now they're like, it's him, it's the actor guy, he's crazy anyways. So
What kind of roles were you cast in? Were you typecast at all?
Well, yes, I was typecast. I'm still typecast till today. And I would say more so thing. First role I got cast in was he's crazy out of an asylum because he has mental issues, and he's that brother who sort of has this so I played. I'm a very character actor anyway, so I do play those kind of sort of characters so when they said you mind playing the crazy, I was like, no, that's great, I love it. That's just, and they were like, really? Because like complex this complex problem of like, wait, he doesn't want to play the weird kind of guy, but I was always the weird one, so it fit in.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Can we talk about the transition from acting to directing, and then at some point producing, and what role Armenia and Armenian has played? So I don't know if you want to chronologically take us through like the opera period, and then you had the acting period, or were those synchronous and kind of interwoven? And how did that transition from being on stage to behind the scenes take place?
So I started acting, and I was very, very, very serious into it. I was like, it was just down to science, and I was very much into all of it. And then I got cast in a play that ended up turning into a musical.
Here in the U.S. or in Armenia?
No, in LA, in LA, and it was called Cracks in the Sidewalk, and it was a very good, very deep sort of play about the Jewish people when they first moved to the United States in New York, and it was a very thing. And I don't know why they decided to turn it into a musical, but it was a random musical. It wasn't like a musical with one composition. It was different parts, things taken together and put together. And they wanted me to sing an operatic piece because I was the Italian who was coming in with the Jewish people back in the day. So they're like, well, I said I can sing in Italian because I used to dabble. I didn't know how to sing back then, but I was like, I can sing. So I took, the aria from Pagliacci opera, and I sang, Ridi Pagliaccio, that aria, and I sang it throughout the thing. And then people actually came, and they're like, wow, that's really good. And then my grandmother was home all day, so she was sort of tutoring me because she's like, I don't want you to look like a total idiot. Let me just show you a little bit how to sing it, because that's not an aria you start with. That's an aria you end your career with. But anyways, I got into singing, and then I decided I have to pursue it. I have to pursue it. I don't want to get into why, but something happened in my life where I realized, like an epiphany, where I have a talent, then I need to pursue that talent. And I decided to move to Vienna. I don't know why. Don't ask me why. So I moved.
How old are you at this point?
I am 20.
Okay.
21. So I packed up my bags, went to Vienna, auditioned, got into the Vienna Conservatory of Music, studied there, and then once I got my bachelor's, there was another reason I sort of moved to Armenia, and I ended up moving to Armenia, and I continued my master's in Armenia at the Komitas Conservatory of Music. And as I was going to graduate the final year, I'm singing in the opera. I'm singing Elisir d'Amore. I remember I was singing Nemorino. I studied about this massive role I'm going to sing. And my mom takes my headshot to the TV and says, and they were looking for a guy and they said, this is the guy. And now they're trying to get me to come and do this like Armenian TV show, which I cared nothing about.
In the U.S.
In Armenia.
In Armenia.
While I'm premiering this role of a lifetime that I'm winning, and I said, no, there's no way. They waited. Anyways, long story short, I did the show, and I got in. It was a hit. It was overnight. Everybody knew who I was. They were like, who's this guy that looks really weird? Like he's got long hair. He's a guy, but he has long hair. And he's got a beard. Like, what? Oh, really? So it was this, like, everybody knew me. That's him. That's the guy. And then I just became super famous overnight. And after that, I just how I got into directing was I was not getting what I needed to get from the production. So I would put my entire essence into the character and into the method acting. Like people thought I was crazy, literally, because I would not say hello to the guy that I'm supposed to hate on screen. And he's like, I don't get it. Why is he not saying hi to me? And a friend who I'd befriended, who's also a famous actor, he's like, he doesn't believe in saying hi to you because if he's going to hate you on screen, it's going to make it hard if he's friends with you. It's like, what?
Explain method acting for someone who doesn't know.
So method acting is an acting style that comes from the actor studio and Lee Strasberg, who created this methodology after breaking away from the Senate. They were a group theater with Stella Adler, and they just parted ways because one was acting outside in and one's inside out. And the difference is it's not that. One is based on and rooted in psychology. So you take sense memory, you take things that you are that you can link to your personal life. So it's not. And Stanislavski actually, who's the grandfather of it all, says it doesn't come from. It's you, Arman, in the circumstance, not a character. There is no character. It is you. It's Arman, the loss of a mother. It's Arman, he got the job. How would you be in that situation? Now, how do you actually recreate that situation as you sense memory-wise? You go to a time where you feel, let's just put it down to an emotion, like that's language in itself, right? So loss. I feel pain and loss. When have I felt pain? Well, I've never had a loss. No, you have. How you've had. Somebody has had loss. So you find the loss and you put yourself in that day by feeling the way it felt when you're sitting in the breeze, and then it sort of kicks, removes the blocks from your psychological thing, and it brings out the correct emotion. And you put the words on top of the emotion. Big advocates, Al Pacino, Marlon Brando, Jack Nicholson, Miss Streep.
So in the example you were giving,
I was trying to do this.
Saying hello, you are in character the whole time, even if when the camera is not rolling.
Yeah, because exactly. I need to have a bad relationship with this person. Then why would I make it difficult for myself to start liking the guy, going having drinks with them, and then coming and saying, all right, go. And now I'm acting. As opposed to I can start to slowly in my head start to find things why I don't like create things like, why is he looking at me weird? Or why does he look at that? He's got he's got this like weird smirk I don't like. Like you start creating things out of the air on top of the fact that you don't, right? And now he starts reacting to you bad because you're not saying hello. So now you're immediately, and I didn't speak to him until 2 years after we wrapped. And then I went to him, and I hugged him, and I said, and he just didn't get it.
Aww.
So I was trying to do this in 2003 in Armenia, and then I wasn't getting anything back when I was watching what I had done. So I said, all right, there's a problem here. Directors are not directors. They're not giving me the direction that I need. I'm in the air. I'm in the dark. I'm like, is this good? Is this right? Is this correct? So I just went back to my roots, to theater, because my parents started the first theatrical company, Armenian theatrical company in LA in 1984. So I sort of grew up I grew up in the wings. Yeah. So our living room was converted into,
rehearsal space. I do.
Yeah, So it's basically, one time a police officer knocked on the door and my dad was on top of the table. My mom had a vase and the guy opened the door and he's like, what's going on here? It's 11 o'clock. The neighbors and we're just rehearsing. I'm like, what? What are you doing? So that was the environment and I grew up in. And so I went to my roots. And I started in theater. I felt that, and also there's a big thing nobody really talks about, the atrocities of fame that come along with our profession. I think it comes along with any profession where there's success and ego. But ours, it's almost like a perk packet. It comes with the package, right?
And at such a young age.
Yes.
What does that do to a young person?
It ruins you. It almost ruined me. It almost ruined me, and I now see why I had picked this profession coming from, wherever I came from beforehand, because I needed to work on this. I needed to work on putting that in front of my face all day and not not taking that habit, not going to it. So I struggle with it every day. It's definitely something that I haven't put my finger on yet, but I don't think I need to. I know I have a problem. I'm man enough to admit I think a lot of us have that problem. I think it comes from pain. I think it comes from not being non-relevant, a fear of not being relevant. Comes all rooted from childhood, every single one. And I think that it just may be something so simple. I mean, trying to always get my dad's attention and he just being too busy, just even something very simple like that can create this monster that needs this.
Needs to be fed.
Yes. So that's another reason why I stopped acting. I stopped completely and I said, I don't want it. I closed all my account. I don't want to have anything to do with it. I'm going to put my creativity into being on this side from the wings. And I found that now I can, there's also something else, that we have wonderful actors. We don't need another actor. What we needed was a director, somebody to direct.
Can I make an observation? And I'm curious what you think. Something I noticed, and maybe going back to the early 2000s, because you described Armenia so well. I know coming from my parents' generation, theater was so central to their lives in a way that it's hard to explain, I think, to Americans, like central daily to their lives, that theater wasn't a luxury. It was something that everyone enjoyed. But when I watched films, particularly post-independence films that featured so many theater actors, there was a kind of dissonance because it seemed like theater actors were acting like they do on stage for a film.
Mm-hmm.
So it all seemed so overdone for me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious if that's something you observed and that's something you noticed and kind of addressed, because even to this day, sometimes I think, the camera captures so much, you really have to compress it.
Mm-hmm.
All like one eyebrow lift can tell an entire story. But I think sometimes Armenian actors just, they're targeting that last person in the theater. But for the camera, it seems so overdone for me. I'm curious if that's an observation you made and how you reacted to that.
Absolutely. It's really a matter of coming back to our earlier conversation of formalistic acting, realistic acting,
Yes.
realism. So reality truth only comes from a place of truth. So that was always the motto, and obviously there's a different type of, it's all direction. So it's not really, if you know exactly what is going on in the actor, if you can feel, like a great acupuncturist or somebody that's a chiropractor can feel what's going on in your body. You have to, as a director, feel what's going on with that. And also, we're children. Like you're asking somebody to put their emotions out there. You have to be super careful, because that can close up right away. There was a time I remember during shooting Songs of Solomon, one of our great actors who is not around anymore, he did not know his lines at all. He should have known his lines. He just didn't know his lines. And we had ample time. He didn't know his lines. We'd done like 25 takes. Everybody was going crazy. My AD was about, and I just, I remember shutting the room down, saying, hey, and really, what are you guys doing? We just gave him his lines yesterday. And everyone's looking at me like, wait a minute, we didn't. He's got his lines. And why? And he's looking, and all the actor's looking at me too. It's like, he didn't get it, but he doesn't know that no one else knows. And he's sort of like, oh, wait, now I gave him the validity and the security, and he was able to deliver. It's all psychology. So when you go to an actor, no, that's terrible. What are you doing? And that right away, you're never going to get a performance out of this actor.
Because you just hit their self-esteem.
Yes, and that's all they're doing it for. Why does anybody act?
It's interesting. And of course, I have to make a linguistic parallel. So there's this concept of language anxiety, which was one of the most unexpected, I guess, domains and findings in my own research, which is when you're insecure about your linguistic capacity and performance, your anxiety shoots up.
Oh, yeah.
Which means you are on high tension, which makes your performance even worse, which means when someone is talking to you, instead of fully listening to them and responding with your full capacity, you are so worried about being judged, criticized, found out, caught, that it's a lose-lose game. There is no winning there. And I think it's a very similar situation. The moment you touch someone's self-esteem, now they're in defense mode, which means they can't produce and they can't be vulnerable.
It's exactly the same. It's exactly the same because if we think about it, all we are, this is all rehearsed. Everything I'm saying right now is a collective of, let me go into my library and see what I would say in a situation that I've said forever. And I just say it. And did I say that good? Yeah, I said, I think that's the best thing I could have said at that moment. And I'm listening. That's all it is. It's just inner dialogue. And it's all it is reusing everything that you've seen or heard or ever said that's worked before.
And we're assessing it the whole time. We are assessing ourselves and filtering ourselves all the time.
So if you think about it, acting, all it is if you know your lines incredibly well, you can turn them into your own words. This is what method acting is. You just turn it into yours, and then it is yours. And now you're not acting. You're just saying what you know, where is that line? Because if you look at it, we're all just, that's all we are.
We're all performing.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay. So you went back to theater. Mm-hmm. Behind the scenes.
Yeah.
And what does the language of directing look like? How does it feel to now be behind the camera and getting performances out of people or having a vision that you need to materialize?
It's trying to show the actor the situation that they've been in before that's the same as this. All it is really, and you saying go a little to the left, go a little to the right, go back, and then you're trying to get them into, oh, wait, there's that footprint. Okay, I got it. Having them sink into that circumstance that they've felt before. And it's very difficult once, because you either go through it theoretically explaining, or you go through it physically going through the motions until they feel that's, it's like a fragrance, right? Or if it's a fragrance, right away you're there where you were when you smelled that, triggered something, right? So it's very similar. What do you use to get this actor or this person to feel what the writer intended in your opinion? Because that's all you can do, is it's an opinion and it's an interpretation. But you take that piece because you sort of identify with it, you know it, and it's something that you want to say as well, right? Why else would you take it? And so you kind of understand it, and you're trying to get the actors to understand it, and you put this picture together, which is it's super, super difficult because it comes very much down to picking the right actor. And actors don't always do things because from a good place. Like they think that they want to do that, but it's not always. And sometimes you could make a mistake and take the actor, but they are not right for that. It's just an understanding of, like, are we all on the same page here? We're saying this. Do we get it? It's very hard to find everybody. Make sure everybody's on the same page and has read the same book and understood the meaning of that book the same way that everyone else did. Once you have that, then it's like it's really easy.
I'm thinking back to my own experiences acting and working with directors, and now as a parent, and we've spoken about your experiences with parenting. I think there's a very interesting parallel with parenting and directing. It's a very nurturing role, and there's a lot of taking care of and understanding the psychology, like the actor as the child and the director as the parent.
That's awesome that you just said that. It's 100% right. You're so right.
Because the best directors I've worked with, I felt a very parental role. And I know I shared this story with you, but I want to share for our viewers too that you had a very interesting role for me, because I was in a play directed by your dad, co-starring with your mom. And it was a really big deal. It was I was trying to explain to my staff who your parents are. And I was like, imagine being in a play with like Meryl Streep and Robert De Niro, you know, that's what I experienced at age 20. And it was nerve-wracking. And I had like the lead role, and I was very nervous. We had our final rehearsal. Your dad was very tough.
Yeah.
Very tough. He used to make fun of me
Yeah.
for my language, by the way.
Yeah.
The
Which is
first word
yeah.
I said in the play was barevces.
Yeah.
And he was like, you're saying it wrong. And I was like, how could I say hello wrong, right?
Yeah.
And so there's layers and layers of anxiety. You, this famous opera singer actor at the time, showed up to our final rehearsal. You sat and watched in full focus. I don't think you blinked for 2 hours. And then you came up to me, you pulled me aside, and you said, tomorrow when you get on stage, don't do 1 drop more or 1 drop less. It was perfect. And again, I don't think in all these years you may understand the value of what you did for me, because I went on stage with this like unprecedented conference because I was like, Arman Nshanian told me, I got this.
Yeah.
Right? And like, so you were that nurturing director for me.
Because
that
at the
I really
end of
needed. So thank you for that.
You choked me up. But because it is very special. It's not easy. I mean, what are we really doing this for? If we're not giving anybody, if we're not giving the direction that we feel as artists we should be giving, and that comes from somewhere else. I don't know where it comes from. I think it's the same place that a doctor gets their thing to be up 60 hours, because they have to do what they're doing. And when that comes from that inspiration and that light comes from that source for you to do what you were doing, then all you can do is want to create. And creation is beautiful, and you want everything to be in that way. So like a parent, like you said, directing, at the end of the day, all you can do your work, and then you have to let everything go and trust that you will arrive. If you don't do that, it's not going to do any good in any other way. So I think that's sort of, and that's what parents do. They give everything they can, and then they trust that what they've done.
Let go.
Yeah. So that's why I think that's what I said.
So when you transitioned to directing, were you directing in Armenian?
Was I directing in Armenian? Yes, I was directing in Armenian.
What was that like? I guess the thing I'm trying to realize as I put myself in your situation is, did you envision what an important role Armenian would have in your life? Here you are, literally bred and raised in the US, right? English dominant, I assume. Yes, Armenian at home. And then Armenian always somehow enters into these really amazing transitions in your career.
I found myself, I did not know who I was until I started living in Armenia. So I found myself in Armenia. And it has to do with roots. I very much believe that it's important to know that, to see that, to feel it. My grandmother would always say, we always had that argument, I would be leaning towards the Verdis, the Puccinis, and she would say, that's all great, I've sung them all, but Gomitas, look at that. And I would it'd be, it's great, but I really like the beauty of the romantic composers. And she said, your success is gonna come from your country, your success, not success, yours. And it's exactly what happened. It's exactly what happened. And I don't mean success by how many people come to your show or how much money you make. I mean success as an establishment of your roots, the feeling of, now I'm grounded. I'm not in the air, because any type of wind, if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. It's a very famous saying. Now you stand for something, and it doesn't matter what it is, but you have the connection with your ancestors, and it's the ancestors that have done everything. I mean, you're just an update. You're an update of a program.
Wow, what
right?
a great,
but that's
great
really all
way
it
of
is,
presenting
right?
it.
I'm an update of my father, and I'm glad that my father would only be happy, right? And now my child hopefully will be an update of me. and it works faster, it works better, it works for now.
Right.
And we're all going towards that super fast processor, wherever that is, and that's where we're all going to, I think.
Where did the idea come from to start a film production company in Armenia?
Everything in a nutshell came from, I went from actor to director to producer to production company because I found that I would come prepared as an actor and I wouldn't get what I am getting from the director. Then I directed and I would come to set and set wouldn't be as what I needed and things were missing. And then I went to producer because then I could do that. And then now I'm facilitating. So I'm A to Z only for quality control. It has nothing to do with ego because I told you I'm working on that. So it's all quality control, and I want to make sure that everything is sort of done the way that needs to be done for the project. So that's how I got there. And I don't always need to act or direct, but I always need to facilitate because now I have, for example, Amerikatsi with Michael directing, I wasn't even acting in it. And he did ask me to act in that movie. I just didn't see myself in the role or in that movie at all because I didn't fit into it, in my opinion, as a filmmaker. So I facilitated, and I think I did a pretty good job because I knew what he wanted because I wanted it at some point in my life. So I tried to give him all of the tools he needs to just be the wonderful creator he is and create the movie he created.
So just for those who may not be aware, Michael Gurjan, who wrote, directed, and starred in Amerikatsi, which was shortlisted for the Academy Awards, was produced in Armenia because of your facilitation.
I was a producer, and my production company facilitated, production.
How important was it for you? And I've had a conversation with Michael here, and he talked about how important it was for him that it be in Armenia.
Yeah.
That you basically facilitate and open doors for anyone to come film in Armenia.
Yeah, well, he's a very reverent filmmaker or artist. So, and that's what I respect so much about him, is that everything needs to be the way it needs to be, because the most important thing is what we, the message, the art, the beauty, the language that we're trying to say in so many different ways, right? Because now it's this super important, just to answer your question, super important. And it's important for that film. And not for every film, but, each...
I mean, I remember when I was talking to Michael, he talked about how important your role was, not only because you know every aspect of this craft, but also because you're fluent in Armenian and in Armenia.
Yes.
Which he's not.
Yes.
He's not fluent either in the language or the culture there.
Yes.
And he was like, everything from negotiating space to negotiating actors to explaining certain things, that he depended on you for translating.
Yeah.
And I mean metaphorically also for translating.
And if I did that in Western Armenia, we would get nowhere in Armenia.
So again, I want to come back to not only your wider linguistic diversity, so the Italian, the German, whatever, but also within Armenian, your ability to code switch and understand Armenia, diaspora.
And also it's an unconscious thing, right? Of like, oh, he's one of us.
Yes.
Right? Right away, which I think you've been trying to say from the beginning. I just got it. Yeah. So yeah, it's really about...
Listen, I had this moment myself too. So I didn't know you had moved at such a young age. So we moved when I was 10. Yeah. So I had more time in Armenia. But still, like, I came of age here. Hayastansi family, but by the time I went to college, I was studying Armenian studies. Very few Hayastansis do Armenian studies. It's a very diaspora thing. So my entire network was diasporan. And then I had a child in the diaspora. So really the diasporan stamp was put on me. And so on. And I remember a couple of years ago going to Armenia, now as deputy director of the Institute of Armenian Studies. So here I'm representing this major Armenian institution. And I was trying to interview someone in a hotel. Did I tell you this story?
No.
Okay. And it's during the war. I'm trying to interview this surgeon. I notice all these cameras on the 6th floor of the hotel. I won't name the hotel just not to tar their reputation. And this young 20-something-year-old security guard comes up to me in very crude Armenian And he basically tells me, what the heck are you doing?
Yeah.
And in my very diasporan persona, super polite, I'm like, I'm so sorry, so apologetic, using formal Armenian. I didn't know there was a process. All we need is 20 minutes. This man is a surgeon who's flown in from the diaspora to help our soldiers. And he continues, really in a very insulting, but I guess normal tone, saying, you can't film here. You basically need to clean up everything and leave. I try once again in this very polite, formal Armenian. And then he again responded in a way I didn't appreciate. Arman, the diasporan coat fell off.
Yeah.
And the beast awakened.
Yes.
And I responded to him now in very everyday Eastern Armenian.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Beat hangստացի հասկանանք իրար."
Yeah.
You should have seen what happened.
Oh, yeah, right.
And in 2 seconds, he started apologizing to me and being very amenable. And then, of course, I wouldn't accommodate to him. And I said, I'm not even going to film here. I'm just going to go out to the grass. And then I called my dad and I said, it turns out the beast was there all along.
Yeah.
I just never had the trigger for it to come out.
You didn't need it.
I didn't need it, but it's there.
Yeah, of course. That's a great story. So that's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
And there's a great book called Embracing Ourselves, written by a male, a woman and wife and husband duo of psychologists. And we actually studied this in acting school. The acting school I went to was basically they invented this thing of when the wife got upset one day and started getting out of herself, and the husband said, I want to talk to her. I want to talk to her. And she was like, wait, who? And then they figured out that there are different selves in us, right? We all kind of know this now, but that come out in different situations and circumstances. Like the Arman you're talking to now has nothing to do with the Arman that would be talking to the security guard in Armenia, and so forth and so. And they all have come to creation, have been created because they only for one purpose, to protect in their way the child, the inner child that is inside. So there are layers, like an onion, of different. The mother, the hunter, the beast,
the archetypes,
the correct, the politically correct. Oh, they're all in there, and they come out at different times. And that's also the Armenian that speaks Western Armenian is a self. It's not speaking in a language, right? Which is why we're here. So language is essentially for me it is a different Arman that speaks Western Armenian, then a different Arman that speaks Eastern Armenian, and they have nothing to do with each other. They're two different Armans.
Have you ever been in a situation where you're in a room with, so let's say you're with me, and obviously our shared language is Eastern, but imagine if my colleague Manuk was here and he speaks Western, and you have to code switch with two people.
Not only that, when I saw Manuk and I identified him right away as, he's Western Armenian. So I know what kind of a person I'm dealing with, and I don't want to be typecast or think people, they're a different type of person. No, but they're different because their culture and their whole upbringing and everything that has to do with them speaking Western Armenian goes along with that dialect. And then get into how other people treat you once you start speaking in that dialect. So if I walk up to a Western Armenian and I speak in Eastern Armenian, if I did speak to him, and then now are you from Baghdad or are you from Lebanon, right? Now that there's that, because one doesn't really like the other. So there's a whole thing of that.
Oh, I had Shavo Odadjian of System of a Down here.
Yeah, good friend, good guy.
And he talks about going to Armenia for the first time in adulthood, and he has his goatee and everything. And so, his family, they're from Greece, lived in Armenia, grew up here. So he has both Western and Eastern as well. So he's walking through the streets of Yerevan, and some locals say, so they make a comment about the Sova and so on. And he talked about turning to them and responding to them in Eastern Armenian. Saying something like Pastoran Yevailin. And not only did it disarm them, but they ended up like shaking hands and becoming buddies, right?
Exactly. It's just.
So again, or he talked about how with System of a Down that so their manager is not Armenian, right? All four members are Armenian, and he said once in a while, if we wanted to like say something in confidence, let's say the manager was trying to negotiate a deal and we wanted to warn each other that maybe it's not a fair deal, we would switch to Armenian and the manager would be like, here they go underwater again. So they had this secret code.
Yeah.
So it's I guess what I'm trying to get at is sometimes you don't recognize where this language can play a particular role until you look in hindsight and you're like, wow.
Yeah, and when speaking in Armenian, sometimes people speak, when I'm with people, they speak in Armenian to hide something, and I could totally tell, like, this is inappropriate. The guy knows you're talking, like, and then I try to, like, switch back. So even when you're not saying something to hide something, right? But then somebody will think, why are they speaking? They're trying to hide something. It's awkward moments of, like, having different languages.
Also, at this point in LA, Armenian shouldn't function as a secret language because there are enough people who know.
I agree.
Let's talk about echoes of our ancestors. What is it? What does it mean for you, and what's your role?
Echoes of Our Ancestors is a massive visual and musical odyssey through Armenian history. So we start 7,000 years back in time during pagan Armenia, and we move to the recent war. And we have chosen, in working with historians, we have chosen 20 situations throughout history that have been the most impactful to bring Armenians to where they are now.
So that have defined Armenian history.
Yes. No judgment, just what it is. This is what happened, and this is what happened after, and now we're here.
So it's a concert?
It is a concert. It's all Armenian music chosen from different parts, very different Armenian music. So from sacred music all the way to rock, newly written rock collabs, and it is and it's going to a singer and a performer has been chosen to represent that specific time period by performing that specific piece of music, and they have been chosen because they do represent that specific genre that is going to tell our story. So they haven't been chosen because, oh, I like him or I like her, let's choose them because of or their followings. They've been chosen because they represent that specific type of music the best, in our opinion. So it has a storyline, which is all woven together by putting these pieces of music in specific order. And with the LED visuals, the massive visuals we have, we're telling this story through music, dance, and the visuals. So you're going to get a very clear picture of Armenians started here, then they went here, then they went here, then this, and it's funny enough. It is so much of a roller coaster ride because it's not an emotional arc that we've created, which you would when you're writing a screenplay, for example, so the audience can come out of this with that journey. It is what the journey we have had, and we come to the point of like losing light completely, to the point of like there was so much light during this time period, and it's so interesting. Because in working with historians, we have taken all of the artifacts and all of the material that's being used for the LED visual massive walls we have are all taken from real existing artifacts, and they come to life. So it's pretty much like going to a museum. Time traveling, yeah, with all the costumes, and we have a full orchestra. So we have a sympho jazz folk orchestra, which is going to, and it's at the Greek. And it's under the stars, so it's got that very ceremonious sort of vibe to it, and it's basically like a celebration and an homage to our ancestors. Like I said, because we didn't have a 97 version of the Apple, we wouldn't have the iPhones we have now, and so it's sort of that sort of update of like, thank you for doing what you did during a time when there was no electricity. Now. And guillotines and things like that. Yeah. And now we're here. So
and what's your role?
My role is I am the author of the project and I am the director. So I'm the creative director of the project. And
Does that mean this was your baby? Like,
yes,
this was your idea?
yes, very much so. Very
And
much
why
so.
did you, I guess as a storyteller, why is this the story you need to be telling now?
I say very much so because it's a big responsibility. I don't know what's going to end up happening with it. It's one of those. It's like it's either going to be great or it's going to be like, this didn't really work well.
And interestingly, for me, the question is in this very interesting career and life you've had, why at this moment in your life you think this is so this, the way I'm understanding it is this comprehensive, artistic narration of the Armenian experience from as far back as we can trace to, I assume, the recent war. Why do you think you're compelled at this moment to tell this story?
I think the story is one of those projects that just chose me as the storyteller. I think it was supposed to be told. I think it's supposed to be told now because of whatever issues that I personally feel that we have as diasporans. And I feel that we've spoken about this, that I feel that there is very much a superpower, as you said, and I agree, and I would call it a hindrance, is the chameleon factor. That because of all the atrocities and things that our ancestors have gone through, we have always been pushed and taught to fit in. So there's something we avoid danger. Like a chameleon, right? Chameleons change color because they do it as a power to avoid danger. We also, like back in Anatolia, here, put this hat on, speak Turkish because of what might happen to you if they find out you're Armenian. And that, I think, has gone a little bit too far because now we're so good at it that when we come, we're like, well, we don't want to be. I remember in the 90s growing up, I didn't want to be the Armenian with the big nose and the the typecast that they gave us that didn't speak English well. So I did everything I could to fit in. And you can't because your last name is always there. So it's like now that has gone way too far. Now it's like, and cultures, accepting different cultures is the way to fit in. And culture is what identifies a person or a race or a people. And it's the most important thing. So if it's not lines in the ground. You go into Georgia from Armenia because you're there. You don't go because you passed now a checkpoint, now it's Georgia. You feel it right away. And what is that? That entire energy is what culture is, all in a nutshell. So it's very important. The show is very important right now because for the diaspora, I want something really important, that it's cool to be Armenian. It's okay to be Armenian, and not only it's
Dare
cool
I
to be
say it's sexy to be Armenian.
sexy to be Armenian. Yeah.
Dare we say?
Look at all of these ancient things that you think are cool. We have the same. Don't forget what you can embrace everything else, embrace yours as well. And then you'll find out, wait a minute, it's actually been there before. That one has been. We're very old. And everything has come, and take it. It's yours. And you are beautiful because you are that. You're not beautiful because they're beautiful because they're that. And you're beautiful because you're this. Embrace it. And that is why I think this show is so important right now.
Who's your target audience for this show? And why was the Greek Theater in LA so important as an iconic location?
Our audience is 5 years old to, I would say, 60. 5 to 60. Everybody, 5 to 70, everybody's going to have an amazing time. It's definitely a family place, but it's very cool. We chose the Greek because it's cool, because it's not stuffy. You don't have to sit in one spot and wait till it's over. You want to go to the restroom, you can go to the restroom. You do whatever you want. It's like a ballpark. It's open. It's open under the sky. No one's going to criticize you. Wear whatever you want to wear. Come and just have a good time, grab some hot dogs, and it's not like this this now I have culture. Armenian culture has always been like, it's culture. We have to do it. Like, you have to do it even though you don't want to do it. No, I want you to want to do it. You're going to want to do it. Come to the show. You're going to understand why you're going to want to do it.
And we all have this association that an Armenian cultural production should be in an Armenian space or in a space that we're used to seeing Armenian things, like Dialects theater.
Yes.
Okay?
Yeah.
But how often do you see something Armenian at the Greek? Because what you associate with the Greek is the Gypsy Kings, is, I don't know, Rob Thomas, is, I don't know, Mumford and Sons.
Yes, Britt Floyd.
Exactly. So that's interesting for me. That's also another code you're breaking.
Yeah.
Is this panoramic journey into the Armenian experience belongs in the Greek. Because, dare we say, it might be even interesting to a non-Armenian.
Yes, it definitely will be. I have to tell you, in going deep into like, electronic music, because I'm a musician, so any type of music, seeing like this whole uprising of like metaphysical, esoteric sort of wave that we've been, experiencing for the last however many years. Just going back and looking at the artifacts and looking all the ancient Armenian symbology and all of that, and everything that's going to come to life that night, it's so trippy. It's amazing, and I watching like these mood boards that I get sent from the team in Armenia every day, and it's like, I can't wait for this to come on these big LED screens with this ancient music that we have. So it's very, very out, like it's very cool. It's very different. It's a lot of culture and it's cool. It's a lot of culture and it's very cool.
So a theme I'm noticing in our conversation is Arman Nshanian as the kind of connector, or connecting worlds, connecting genres, transcending genres. And when I was reading the press release about the event, so I'm quoting, live orchestral music, Armenian folk melodies, immersive visuals, dance, and symbolic storytelling under the great maestro Sergei Sambatyan. And then I'm just going to name a few of the artists: Serge Tankian, Tigran Hamasyan, Sepu, Inga and Anush, Nune Yesayan, Sevak Amroyan, Armen Movsisyan, and the list continues. And I was reading, I imagine like every phone call you must have made to all of these very different artists.
Isabel Bayraktaryan.
Yes.
They have an opera singer.
Yes.
Yeah, everybody's.
And how you must have pitched or presented this, and how much trust they must have had with you. I guess, like, what language did you use with each of these people to get their buy-in into something that seems unprecedented? So they don't have a formula for this. It must. I wish I could have been a fly on the wall, or like had a little recording device in the phone to see what type of conversations you had with all of these artists.
I think that because all of the people you named are real artists, I think that they all got it. They all got it because they felt that they also at some point have felt that this is something that's very much needed. Mm-hmm. So I didn't really need, I told them the idea, and they took a few things from what I said. And obviously I spoke to each one in their respective genres very well prepared. Mm-hmm. It wasn't like, I want you to do something, but I don't know what it is yet. It was like very much like, I want you to do this, and this is why, and so they got it. It can't be a coincidence. And I think that all of the different types of artists, the genres that we just said, you just named, are coming together is already, I think, a celebration in itself.
Yes.
And we are very fortunate to have each and one of these super talented artists on board, who is going to be an amazing honor to work with, and just to see this whole thing come together. It's very much as different as they are from each other. They all are from the same bloodline. It's all one kind of blood flowing through all of everyone's veins. So it's different times, but all one. Same but different, but still same.
You and I spoke last week, and I maybe I'll have this as a final question or a penultimate question, which is, I'm going to think about that analogy of the update, each of us as an update. And there's no question about the value of understanding, recognizing, knowing one's history, and a tribute to the ancestors who have shaped who we are. But sometimes I have this feeling that we're too obsessed with looking back and not focused enough on looking at the present and particularly in the future. I'm curious why you thought it's so important to do this comprehensive look back, time travel. And I wonder if there's any intention to maybe in the future iterations to do a time travel forward. Like instead of echoes of our ancestors, maybe, I don't know, the voices of our progeny or something, you know?
I love it. I actually love that.
I'd like to take credit for
you see it.
Planting this seed.
Yeah, that's great. I think that we have not been given the opportunity to correctly let bygones be bygones, and we have not gotten that closure that any race that has seen, or any person that has seen the stress that we've seen, and we continuously keep saying, we have not gotten that closure yet. And in order to be able to move forward in a healthy way, you have to have that closure. And I think that closure needs to start happening now. Otherwise, we will have brushed everything under the rug, but the dirt will stay there and it won't go away. And we will move forward with not knowing exactly why what happened to us. And once you understand why it happened, then you can start to accept it. Accept that you cannot change it. You can only move forward, but having identified it and come to terms with it. I think that's what was very important. I think everyone is like that Mandela effect. It's like, do we know what happened with us? Do we really do, or did we just say that we do? I don't think we really know where we come from. I really don't think we know it.
I think you're justified in saying that. And this is something we talk about at the Institute all the time. It's very rare that I come across a young Armenian person who's not proud of being Armenian. But when you scratch beyond the surface, there isn't much content there. And I don't blame them.
No.
They're not to blame.
No. Yeah.
And for that young person who wants to know, but everything that's been offered to them is stuffy, uncool, illegible, above their capacity. I always say to my colleagues at the Institute, our role is to offer content with integrity and shake up expectations.
Yes.
Shake up stereotypes so that for that young person, this may be the coolest event they've been to, not the coolest Armenian event. The coolest event they've been to that happens to be Armenian. Imagine walking out.
Non-Armenians are going to come to this and they're going to be blown away.
Yes.
Blown away. Why? Shenyun. You can go to Shenyun and say, what a beautiful cultural history China has had, but why not come to this? I mean, it's just as cool.
I want to ask a final question for all of the young diasporan or even homeland artists who may feel hesitant about going into the arts, who may feel hesitant about their linguistic capacity, their historical capacity, their artistic capacity. I guess what advice would you have for any young person who wants to adopt the language of art but is scared or hesitant?
Don't do it unless you absolutely cannot do anything else in this world and do good, okay? And I want to reference all of the great musicians of the world, System of a Down, Tigran Hamasyan, any electronic, Armen Miran, any type of, like, from any genre you want to take, and I'm saying these names because these are names that I, as a youngsters going out, would want to say that proud of. They are great because they have embraced their cultural their cultural notes, their cultural melodies, harmonies. They have stood out because of that. Um, you can see it very clearly in the electronic music world, which I'm a very big advocate of. Great electronic music is genius, and you can see right away that these ethnic Armenian melodies in electronic music are used differently than Georgian or Russian, and each one, regardless of the audience, when it's done correctly, they go nuts for it. So it's beautiful, and bringing your own to it, and understanding that if you don't, no one else will, and that will just be left without light shed on it. It'll just stay under on the shelf. Bring it out, use that because it's yours, and trust that people are just going to love it.
Thank you so much. For those of us watching, join us September 12th at the Greek Theater for Echoes of Our Ancestors. And I'm sure we're going to have a follow-up conversation.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It's wonderful.
You've been listening to Language Therapy with Dr. Shushan Garbetian, a podcast series from the USC Institute of Armenian Studies. This episode was produced by Dr. Garbetian, edited by Samvel Krajan, who also composed the original music. For more from the USC Institute of Armenian Studies, visit the Institute's website at armenian.usc.edu and follow the Institute on all social media platforms.